Over the next few weeks, we are starting a brand new series called Faith Through Lockdown. What does it look like to grow as a follower of Jesus when no one else is watching? I want to start with a slight confession. I find silence really uncomfortable. I will find any opportunity to fill silence. In my house, we have 5 Amazon Alexa devices, and that means you can have music playing in every single room. It is amazing. Alexa, play some music.
Here is Spotify.
Alexa, stop. I can walk from the kitchen to the front room, from the front room to the bedroom, from the bedroom to my office, and never miss a beat of what I am listening to. The digital world has meant that we rarely switch things off. The music keeps on playing, the bingeable shows keep on coming, and meanwhile we just keep on scrolling, and Netflix keeps on asking, are you still watching? Thanks to the mobile devices in our pockets, we can keep on scrolling, the notifications keep on coming, and all the time we just keep consuming. There is never a moment just to pause, just to stop. I wonder, when was the last time you ever really experienced silence? And I mean externally in terms of noise, but also internally. When your mind wasn't running to this thing or that thing, or what piece of homework you've got to finish, or what's going to be for dinner tonight, or I wonder what my friends are doing right now. When was the last time you experienced complete silence? Over the next few weeks, we're going to be exploring what faith looks like when no one is watching, when there is no physical church to gather in, when youth group isn't allowed to meet, when you can't even hang out with your friends. How do you continue to grow as a disciple, to grow as a follower of Jesus? Each week we're going to dive into the Bible, we're going to dive into our small groups, but we're also going to give you some really practical things and some really hard challenges for you guys to put this into practice. We want you to walk away after these 4 weeks being able to feel like you can grow as a disciple of Jesus, even if there's no one else around you. So let's just pause for a moment. Let's turn and look at the person of Jesus. The first thing that's really important to remember is that Jesus was a rabbi, a teacher. And in those days, it wasn't uncommon for rabbis to wander around teaching people. They had a following, and those followers were called disciples. And so we're going to jump into the Bible and read some of the words of this amazing teacher, this amazing rabbi. Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30 say this: "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." What did Jesus mean by this? Well, when we think about Jesus as the rabbi, as the teacher, in those days, every rabbi had something that was called a yoke. And a yoke it literally is this thing that you would put across cattle to plow a field. But when they're talking about it in the context of a teacher, the yoke was the set of teachings. So to sit under this rabbi's yoke was to follow that rabbi's way of doing things, was to follow that rabbi's set of teachings. Jesus says, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." When we think about what it means to be a follower of Jesus, it's about being a follower of the rabbi. Jesus in the Bible lives life in a certain way. He does things in a certain way. It's about Jesus saying, "Look how I do it and copy me." I love the way the Message version of the Bible translates these few verses. It says this: "Are you tired, worn out, burnt out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." Did you know that the first Christians were called followers of the way? Followers of the way of Jesus. To be a disciple, to be an apprentice, to be a follower of Jesus is all about seeing how Jesus did things and learning from him. Over the coming weeks, we're going to look at a couple of the different practices of Jesus, a couple of the different things that we see Jesus doing. Namely, we're going to be thinking about prayer, we're going to be thinking about how to read our Bibles, and we're going to be thinking about worship. And we're going to be doing all of these things through the lens of how do I do this from home on my own, with no friends around me, no youth group, no church. But today, the practice of Jesus that I want us to think about is silence. I wonder if you've ever noticed how often in the Bible Jesus disappears by himself to pray. It happens literally all of the time. There are some moments in the Bible when things are going really, really well and Jesus just disappears. He goes off to pray by himself. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus left that place and went off to pray. Mark chapter 1 verse 35. Jesus withdrew with his disciples to the lake. Mark 3:7. Jesus went up on a mountainside to pray. Luke 6 verse 12. When Jesus heard this, he withdrew by boat to a solitary place. Matthew 14:13. Jesus disappeared by himself a lot. The list goes on and on. Jesus would regularly take himself away. He would find a quiet place in order to seek God and to draw closer to the Father. When you read through the Gospels, the account of Jesus' life, it's clear that this is core to Jesus' personal rhythm of faith. In order to draw close to the Father, he retreats. He finds a place of solitude. He finds a place of silence. He finds a place without the distractions and the noise of everyone else in the world in order to draw close to God. To escape people, to escape the noise, to escape the notifications, and just simply to spend time with God. I think this is possibly the hardest of all the 4 things we're going to look at over the next few weeks, but it forms the backbone of everything we're going to talk about. Check this verse out from Matthew chapter 6. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So this week we're thinking all about silence. We're thinking all about solitude. We're thinking all about the secret place. How do you retreat and be on your own in order to draw close to God? Like I said, I think this is one of the hardest things we're going to look at. I think in the world that we live in today, where we're bombarded by noise and notifications, this is perhaps the hardest challenge of all the 4 things we're going to look at. But honestly, I think it's core to everything else we're going to come on to look at. We're going to break into small groups in a moment. We're going to dive into some questions. We're going to dive into these 2 passages. But I really want to encourage you to take this challenge seriously. Discuss it in your small groups. Come up with something that works for you and works for your group. And really challenge one another to find ways to seek God this week. And here ultimately is the big question. What would it look like for you to spend time with God in the silence?